We're here at Swiss Forge in Northern Ireland, and we're going to be following the process, taking a single block of metal and transforming it into a piece of art. Well, I'm going to be making it, so this is something I have always dreamed of doing, and I have an absolute master blacksmith taking me through the whole process. I don't want to let him down. I want this to be special. Hopefully we can make something fantastic today. After this putter is forged, we're going to be taking it out onto a putting green and giving it a test out to see if I have created something usable.
To guide us through this is Aaron Leach. He's an expert blacksmith who can literally, and I'm not joking here, trace his family tree back to 500 AD Norway, where his ancestors were, you guessed it, blacksmiths. Viking blacksmiths. He handles hot metal every day and has now transitioned into the world of specialised custom putters.
So, Aaron, talk to me. What's the process? Talk me through it. What are the steps?
First step, we're going to square up this piece of wrought iron here.
Okay.
So this is from 1800s, from an old cart axle, and we want to make sure there's no inclusions in there. So we get it nice and hot, square it up so we know what we're working with, and then we're going to put a nice little fuller in the back. So we're going to step down. Usually that would be like a little step or a bumper.
Okay.
That would be milled out. We're going to forge this out. We're going to move that material in place. So that's going to be the first step.
Okay. Okay, so in there is a piece of a cart from the 17th century which will become a putter. Of course, that's just like a regular Friday.
That's it. Well, the good thing is we're the only ones in the world doing this. You know, so you've got one of 11, you know, to date anyway. No one else using wrought iron in the industry. It's no longer made.
So right now, on planet Earth,
Yep.
in this workshop,
Yep.
we are going to be the only ones making one of these putters on the planet right
Yep.
now. Is that the pose?
Yep.
I don't really know any blacksmith.
No, dirtier face, you'd be sorted. We'll get you there. Strike while the iron's hot, literally. So we don't have long. So go for it. I want you to hit the top of this nice and hard. One or two hands. Yep. Perfect. I don't know if you can see these little lines in the material here. It's sort of hard to, you can see the sort of wavy pattern.
Yeah.
So that's the grain structure. So the direction of the fibers is linear.
Right, okay.
So you'll be able to see that the more we work it, and eventually when we etch it, you're going to see the contrast in them as well, which is pretty nice.
So is that done?
That's the first step one out of many. So back in, more time in the forge, less time on the anvil, gets you a lot more work done. Because you're always working it at that right heat. 10 to 20 hammer blows and right back in means you're not going to be waiting 20 minutes for it to heat up every time.
Love it. So you want like a rough design of the putter?
Literally whatever you want on there.
How about we go like a big triangle shape there. If we have two carbon weight ports coming off here, I'd prefer to use kind of tungsten weights in here. If we could, Aaron, to be honest with you, and then if we could put another tungsten weight here. I'm thinking gold or maybe platinum for the sight line, and I really like an Odyssey white hot face. So if that could go like all across there, we want a nice forgiving area, maybe a little bit more kind of tungsten at the back there, just to give it a little bit more help, and then kind of a slant-necked hosel just in the corner. That's what I was thinking.
I think we can do that.
Okay.
Easy.
So after a stern telling off from Aaron about being so stupid, we decided to pick a design which was similar to my current Adele putter. A thickish blade with a bit scooped out the back and two wings to frame the ball. It's a design I like, and it's also something we could accomplish within the day.
Move to the fly press in a minute as well. I'm going to set up an anvil block on the bottom here, and it's going to apply 4 tons of pressure every time you swing that arm.
I was going to say, so like a difference between, let's say, forging here and then forging like a Mizuno or something. They've basically just got massive ones of those, haven't they?
Yeah, and what they have, that's basically it. So they'll pre-form roughly. They'll maybe bend the hosel initially in one action, and then they'll have a series of dies, like bending a coat hanger to a certain point, and then it breaks. But just before that point, it's a lot harder than it was before you started bending it.
You'll have to let me know what I can touch and what I can't touch.
No worries. As long as it's not hot, you can touch it.
As long as it's not hard to touch.
Yeah, that's it, with your fingers. So this is now our anvil, this is now our hammer, or our fuller.
Okay.
And this, when we swing up here, you want snappy blows, so boom, boom. So you're gonna stand here and do that. As far as that design, any more forging in that is going to be detrimental, because if we forge your cavity out, that material has to go somewhere, and it's not all going to come out this direction. It's going to spread in every direction.
Right,
so
okay.
this metal is going to curve around like that, and it's going to curve up like that. So there's certain areas where you use a milling machine or your grinder to remove that material. Fabrication has always been a part of blacksmithing. It's known as bench work. Forging being that first step in not wasting material, putting material where you need it to be to remove the material to its final shape. That's spot on for now.
Yeah,
we'll let that cool down.
The way you can like, start to see like the grains and stuff, like you can really see it now.
You can see those lines coming down.
What we
4.5 inches.
4.5
Let's
inches.
just go there and there.
And we're going for the high
Guesstimate it.
high 300 grams, were we saying? On
Yes,
the actual
I think
putty
so,
weight?
yeah.
So I think most putties you were saying are about 340.
Yeah, I think 320 to 360 sort of standard, isn't
Okay.
it? Roughly.
Proud.
Next call it up.
It's my first bit of blacksmith dust on my ears, apparently. So proud.
We'll find our high spots and low spots. So we can hear.
So you could literally hear that pass over from one high spot.
That's it.
So on.
So we can come down a little bit more here. So you can see all those little marks there, little swirls. So if you go by RNA rules, you are allowed a light milled face on your putter, and that would be the texture of a light milled face.
Right, okay.
So it's just the milling marks rather than physically milling a groove in the putter in circular motions. So let's just get sort of an 8mm strip across there as parallel as you can.
Okay.
So once you get to here, you know you're going to want to be moving that block along and keep this block's pressure within the width of the belt, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
And it usually helps to stand off to the side a little bit. Ear defenders if you want them because of that squeal.
So this is Aaron's wife's great granddad's angle thingy, but this was used to build the Titanic. Not obviously all of it, but anything small that they wanted to get all the angles, this was being used on it. Little piece of history holding in my hands, and we're about to use this to get the angle on my putter face, which is kind of cool, I think. Personally, I think that's really cool. So as far as like putters go, is this a complex thing to make for you? Or like what's the most complex thing you've tried to make, had to make, did make?
Complicated in that you have restrictions in place to meet certain rules and regulations to play.
Okay.
I'm used to like blacksmithing, you've got like a 2 or 3 mil tolerance. If you're making something decorative, there's not as much tolerance unless you're making something repetitive like gates and railings and you have a very small tolerance. But in general, there's a much finer tolerance. People look at it and they see it's just a shape, he's made a shape. But when you have to meet weight and you have to have that weight distributed in a certain place, I'd say these are pretty complicated as far as brain power.
Yeah.
You know, and still being able to be creative with it, so making that work with the forging process, and also your design process. And you don't want to limit yourself by those rules too much anyway. You still need to work within them, but it's good to forget them sometimes and experiment. So plenty of sharp edges on there. We'll get this on the grinder, we'll tidy it up. Make sure that it's nice and flat and level within this section. We'll grind the back here, taper it back. Nice aggressive angles on there, whatever you want. Make it look a little bit sleeker.
So we also have here a Swift's Forge ball marker, which is very, very cool.
We get a stamp made out, so we can either hot or cold stamp the club's logo into the ball marker.
These ones here, you can, so if you can figure out, obviously it's the wrong way around, so you can figure out which club that's going to. Poor Rush, by the way, just in case you were wondering.
You know, they're really cool guys out there, really supportive of what we're doing, offering something different, something that isn't just bashed out or stamped out.
No, it's like a cinnamon in the middle of it. It's like a cinnamon folded donut delight.
So to think this was part of a 17th century horse car is baffling to me. Maybe it's because we made it ourselves, but I just love absolutely every detail. Dipping it in acid has really brought out that wood-like grain within the metal. Leaving these wings on the putter untouched gives it like a really ancient feel. Probably the only thing I didn't really think about is when we were milling it, it had that really shiny metal look. And dipping it in the acid, making it more medieval, it maybe takes away some of that contrast, but I still think it's brilliant. But the fact that you can still see some of the milling on the club is just really cool. But the biggest question is, can it put? So we kept all the sight lines off the putter just to give it a really simple look. So it actually sits quite abruptly behind the ball. That leading edge is quite a raw looking edge, but it is still easy to line up. I'm not having any difficulty there. But what does it feel like? So I know this might sound a little bit silly, but it feels just like a really nice milled putter. I mean, I'm using a TP, no, oh no, I didn't. Using a TP5 ball here just for, well, it's the first one to grab out the office, but it does feel soft, it feels nice. And it actually feels okay on pretty much all distances of put off the toe and off the heel. That was my biggest concern really, that as soon as I started to hit it from off the center, that it would feel like it would twist dramatically, but actually it feels okay. So one huge contrast between the Swiss Forge putter and the Adele putter I use is this is a heavy toe hang, so you can see how the toe of the club really points down at the ground. Now the Adele, from the shaft placement and the head, that actually sits toe up. So it feels very different to the Adele, but like I said, the actual results so far have been pretty good. It also sits slightly more upright than the putter I'm currently using as well, so I feel a bit more kind of Steve Stricker-esque, you know, a bit taller. I've never used a cork grip before. To be honest, all the bottles of wine that I get, they all have screw tops. So for the next few weeks, probably the next few months, I mean, this putter has to go in the bag, really, doesn't it? Just to see what it's like, and it is quite a conversation starter. Making your own golf club and then putting it into play, it feels like you're connected to the old pros of the game. You know, these guys used to make their golf clubs, go out and play with them. They used to make their own golf balls as well. I'm probably not going to go that far. It's just really cool. Like a really cool thing that we managed to do. Now this wouldn't have been possible without Aaron from Swiss Forge, so I just want to say a massive thank you, pal. Thank you for welcoming us into your home as well. Can't wait to see what it's like over the next few weeks. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps us out. Wallop that like button, and also check out these other videos that we filmed on our trip to Ireland.